This is FYI News 13, brought to you by SSPTV and the Hazleton Standard Speaker.
For your information, we have the latest on the suspension of Hazel Township solicitor. Good evening and thank you for joining us on FYI. I'm Ken Cara. Let's get to our headlines from FYI News 13 and the Hazleton Standard Speaker. During a special meeting on Wednesday, the Hazel Township supervisors voted unanimously to suspend longtime township solicitor attorney Charles Pedri without pay. The resolution explained that the township discovered that $105,586.80 was to have been paid to Hazel Spindle LLC, a company in the township. That money was being held in escrow by Pedri and was to have been paid to the company upon completion of a project. The project was completed, but the payment was never made. Attorney Pasco Shivo, now the township's acting solicitor, says supervisors received a complaint in the mail from an attorney representing Hazel Spindle.
The supervisors were surprised because they had been promised by Attorney Pedri that it had been paid and that he would take care of it. But now when they got this just a few days ago from this lawyer, they realized that this money had not been paid by Pedri out of his IOLTA account, and that they needed to do, they were surprised, and they needed to go into it immediately, into some investigative form and process, and they did, and they found out that indeed the money had not been paid.
Shivo says the township is liable for the money and that Attorney Pedri is responsible. Luzerne County District Attorney Stephanie Salavantis confirmed that she did receive correspondence from the township. She plans to meet with township officials and decide what agency would investigate any possible impropriety. Meanwhile, Attorney Charles Pedri issued the following statement this afternoon, quote, "Upon review of this matter, the issues stem from a misunderstanding as well as errors within my office. These errors have been rectified and the money in question has been repaid in full. No Hazel Township taxpayer funds were affected by this matter. I regret these errors placed the Hazel Township supervisors in this position. Serving as solicitor to Hazel Township over these last 22 years has been one of the significant accomplishments of my legal career. I am pleased that this matter has been resolved and hope that Hazel Township and I can move forward," unquote. In other news, Hazleton police are investigating an armed robbery last night at CB's on West Broad Street. It happened around 7:20 p.m. A man showed a clerk a handgun in his waistband and demanded money and cigarettes. He is described as a white male, 5'9" to 5'11" tall, about 170 pounds, medium build, wearing a red hoodie or jacket. Anyone with information should call police or dial 911. Today marks the 3-year anniversary of the death of Penn State football coach Joe Paterno. Standard Speaker sports editor Dave Seaman and I discussed Paterno's legacy and the agreement that restored his wins. Let's move on to Penn State. We talked last week about the settlement in a case that ultimately will make the $60 million Penn State is being fined be spent in Pennsylvania for child protection. It also restored 112 victories for Penn State. And Dave, interesting in the aftermath of this, and two Penn Staters here. If you want to hear both sides, obviously Keith Oberman went off against Penn State and some views of Penn Staters with Joe Paterno. Onward State, the student blog, has an interesting rebuttal, an open letter to him if you want to read both sides there. I think it's just going to be divided like that. You're going to have people who still have the faith in Joe Paterno and the people who will vilify Joe Paterno. You're always going to have that. I think the bottom line is, should the NCAA have gotten involved, and also that we do keep the conversation going about child sexual abuse out there. Penn State has had blew-out games at Beaver Stadium and raised over $150,000 to prevent child abuse right here in the state of Pennsylvania. So as long as we keep that conversation going forward, even when we talk about 409 victories, I think everyone can agree to that. But sports-wise, statecollege.com did an interesting column where they listed all of the players who will benefit from this at Penn State, who get the wins kind of back for themselves. If you want to comment maybe non-sports-wise, but also sports-wise, Dave, what this really means.
Well, for the players themselves, they've been around. They were a part of the program. They suffered through the injuries during that time. I had a player tell me one time, I went through the rehab of, I injured my knee and I lost 2 seasons. They're telling me my knee injury didn't exist, that rehab didn't exist. I knew the sweat that I went through, the blood, the tears to get back on the football field. Those kind of things. You feel for those people. And you do feel for the victims in this case. But it's a divided matter, like you said. There's going to be times where the football takes precedence over, in the minds of some, that the football takes precedent over what happened at Penn State. But again, the one person who was the mastermind, so to speak, behind all this, he's locked up and he's put away. The football team can take another step forward now, knowing that another step in this whole matter has been resolved, and we'll see what happens from here. But it's not a fun situation to talk about, but it happened. You have to talk about it, and there will always be division over it.
And Tara Toohill came in here. We mentioned she talked about how child sexual abuse was underreported in the state of Pennsylvania. They changed 20-some laws in the wake of everything that happened with Jerry Sandusky to try to combat that problem here in the state of Pennsylvania. So maybe some positives coming out of this situation. But there's a wide gulf, Dave, and just to finish it off with Joe Paterno, there's people who feel very far on one side against Joe. And then you talk to the players. I talked to one right after the Free report came out who stood right by Joe Paterno's side. And I've talked to so many former players who just said how Joe changed their lives and supported him throughout, at least from the Joe Paterno end. And I just think that that's how it's always going to be.
Yeah, I agree. And Joe Paterno always did have that detractors that weren't on his side, the people, the root for other schools, that they thought that the persona that Joe Paterno carried off too. A lot of that was media driven too. So when the media had an opportunity to pounce on Joe Paterno, they did so. But that neglects the philanthropic side of Joe Paterno with the libraries and the Special Olympics and what he did for families and what he did for his former players. And that can't be forgotten. That can never be forgotten. And what he did on the football field, I think that was just a bonus to what the man that he was.
That was taped during our weekly commentary sports segment. In other news, tickets are going fast for tomorrow night's Liam List concert at West Hazelton Elementary Middle School. Proceeds will benefit 10-month-old Aubrielle Marcicano of Cunningham, who contracted a rare form of meningitis. Tickets are $5 and available at all Hazelton area school district elementary and middle schools, Holy Family Academy, and our studios at 109 West Broad Street in Hazelton. A limited number of tickets will be sold at the door, and a limited number of VIP meet and greets will also be available for an additional $5. Doors open at 6 p.m. tomorrow with the concert at 7 p.m. Well, coming up, we get in the FYI Fast Lane in sports with motorsport journalist Dino Alberto and also race car driver Steve Fox. And after this break, the manager of this McDonald's was surprised with a very prestigious award. Find out the details after this break.
This is FYI News 13, brought to you by SSPTV and the Hazelton Standard Speaker.
Each and every Thursday, we focus on businesses in downtown Hazelton, and we're here again with Justin Woznicki. He is the manager at Grand Central. So thanks so much for being with us on FYI.
You got it. Thank you for having me today.
All right, so let's talk honestly about downtown Hazelton business, what you've seen in the area over the past couple of years.
It's been a huge change. Go back to 2007 when we had the whole economic crash. I guess our area always feels it last, so we felt it last. Then we had the downtown project with Broad Street ripped up. But over the past 2 years, it's been great. Broad Street just got finished up. There's all this money being put downtown into the Hayden Tower and everything like that with the D'Angelo brothers. And we're really trying to revitalize downtown and make it what it was when, geez, I'm a young kid, but when I was 10 years old walking downtown. So.
Now, you're a young guy, so from your perspective, what has kept you in Hazelton, and do you feel safe here?
Oh, absolutely do I feel safe. You know, we're right at Grand Central, right over by CVS and Giant. I grew up on Chapel Street right here on the south side. I've always walked downtown Hazelton, CMP Supermarket, Giant. So I don't feel safe, unsafe by any stretch of the imagination. So.
When you compare Hazelton to maybe a city a little larger like Wilkes-Barre or Scranton, how do you compare them as far as safety?
Safety, a lot of people don't hear it. They hear the bad things about Hazelton, but unfortunately, if you look at the numbers, we are way more safe than a Wilkes-Barre area or a Scranton area, and we don't have that much smaller of a population. Within 10 10 miles of downtown Hazleton, there's 75,000 people. People don't understand that with our surrounding areas, the Drums, Sugarloaf, Eagle Rock, Tamaqua areas, there's a lot of people. So, but no, this is a very safe area to grow up in. And that's the reason why I'm still here in downtown. I've grown up here through 3 generations. I am very safe downtown.
I know when I talk to people, they look at me like I have 4 heads, like, oh, you think you're safe in Hazleton. And, they look at me like you're one of the minority when it comes to feeling safe in Hazleton. What do you say to people? What do you say to maybe people of your generation as to, maybe to convince them that this is really a safe environment?
My experiences with growing up and seeing the whole generation change, if you look at downtown Hazleton's, populace 10 years ago to what it is now, the crime rate hasn't changed. It's not that it's gone up, it's just that it's more of, there's an influx of a different population that people have not got accustomed to, okay? And it's nothing different than what we had back in the 50s and the 60s with an Italian influx of population from the New Jersey and the New York City area. So there's nothing different than it was in the 50s than it is now. It's just people not grasping it and changing to the changes as they should.
Well, Grand Central has been a staple in this community for many, many years. So just tell us a little bit about Grand Central and how long they've been in downtown Hazleton.
Oh, God. We've been in Hazleton over 60 years. The Grand Central name has been since 1988, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 88. We've been doing business with all the areas for a long time, and a lot of people think that they need to travel to the Wilkes-Barre area or the Scranton area or the Allentown area to get a deal, when unfortunately the best person to deal with is your local neighbor. That's who's going to care the most. That's who's going to take care of you, have an issue at 8:30 at night and be at your house to take care of you, or someone to call at any time of the day and actually care about you and your business and your family and your growth and prosperity.
Well, thank you for joining us and shedding light on your perspective of the downtown.
Thank you very much for having me again.
All right, and join us here each and every Thursday on FYI when we focuses on businesses throughout the downtown Hazleton Alliance for Progress.
Time now for FYI News 13 weather.
Oh, look, Christmas is back. Hashtag sick of snow. Well, you better get used to it because there's some more in our forecast. And this is our local forecast from the National Weather Service. Tonight, partly cloudy. Our low will be 17 degrees. Let's go to the extended forecast. On Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 28 degrees. Friday night, here comes some snow. Scattered flurries before 8 p.m. Then a chance of light snow. The low will be 24 degrees. New snow accumulation of less than a ½ inch is possible. Saturday night, another chance of light snow. Excuse me, this is Saturday during the day, and that's before 2 p.m. that chance of snow. The high will be near 31. Saturday night, a chance of flurries, low of 23. On Sunday, a chance of flurries before 8 a.m. Partly sunny day with a high of 29. Sunday night, there's another chance of snow. The low will be 18. Monday, the chance of snow sticks around. 26 is our high. 13 will be our low with another chance of snow at night. The weather on FYI is brought to you by the Pines Eatery and Spirits in the Markle Building in downtown Hazleton. Visit them on Facebook for specials and updates, and visit them tomorrow to witness a performance by Mother Nature's Sons. They are playing from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Pines, and the full menu is available until 8 p.m. Their snack menu is available until 9 p.m. Marianne Panko is the manager of McDonald's on Route 309 in Hazel Township. She came into work today all ready for a meeting and was near the French fries while the McDonald's field service manager was getting ready to surprise her with the Ray Kroc Award. The award is given every year to the top 1% of McDonald's managers in the country. Being so prestigious in that, what do you look for? I mean, I heard there's an interview involved. What's all involved with it?
So it is quite an in-depth process. We actually have the owner-operators own the individual restaurants nominate their people for it. We then go through the results of the restaurant without even looking at the names to make sure we're not biased at all. And then we go out and we conduct in-depth interviews in the restaurant, look at the restaurant, talk to the customers in the restaurant, and then based on that, we have a committee that meets and narrows it down to the actual winner.
Were you involved in the process?
Oh yes, I was at her interview.
So what stuck out about Marianne? I mean, what really was
her passion for her people. Marianne has done just a phenomenal job in growing a team here. They don't work for McDonald's, they work for Marianne here. And the passion that she has in trying to grow her people, whether they're here for a year or whether they're here for a career, she just takes the time to make sure that they enjoy their job while they're here. And when we look at the community, She has we measure our operations using a mystery shop program, and she has 100%. She's never missed a question at any of the mystery shops in the course of a year. So she's just done a wonderful job.
You start at management level?
No, I started as crew 29 years ago. Yes.
So you stuck with it. I mean, what have you liked so much about it?
I like the people. I like the environment. It's a challenge, but it's also a very learning experience.
So I guess a little time back, you had an interview for the top 10% of managers. What was that process like? I mean, was that nerve-wracking or just?
It was nerve-wracking. You know, the top people come in to talk to you, and I wasn't exactly sure what it was about. But obviously, it went very well.
So you come in today, your husband came in with you. You thought you were having a meeting? Or?
I thought I was having a meeting with the field consultants about training sessions that we're having later on next month, and I walked into this.
How much does it mean? I mean, you gave 30 years, you said, of working here. How much does it mean to be recognized?
It means a lot. You know, sometimes you feel like you're unappreciated, and it's very nice to know that all your hard work is really appreciated. It is you can't do it alone. If it wasn't, you're only as good as the people who work for you, and I think I have a very good crew and management team.
Congratulations to Mary Ann. And that was the first time I was at McDonald's for breakfast in a long, long time, so that was awesome as well. Let's see if you're a winner. Let's go to the green screen, your midday Pennsylvania winning lottery numbers. The Daily, 715. The Big Four, 9126. Quinto, 73986. Treasure Hunt, 247, 13, and 26. FYI Fastlane. We're talking about racing next on FYI.
This is FYI News 13 Sports.
Back in the FYI Fast Lane. This time we have three people in the car. Dino Alberto, local motorsport journalist who's always with us, and Steve Fox, who is the GM at the Stock Car Racing Experience at the Pocono Raceway. Also a driver. I had the pleasure of covering Steve while he was in one of the ARCA races up at the Pocono Raceway. And this weekend, Motorsports 2015, pretty much the kickoff of the season, you guys were telling me. It's that time of year again. And Steve, you're bringing your car there. This is in Philadelphia. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Something that all of us are looking forward to. Obviously, the days are getting a little bit longer, and spring is right around the corner. This is where everybody starts their 2015 racing season. It's at the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center in Oaks. It'll be 3 days of race cars, everything race car related. There's a bunch of Cup drivers. I think Joey Logano's there and somebody else. But it's the midwinter place to be for everybody that's into racing.
And Dino, you will be there as well. What do you look forward to every year when you head out?
You know, it's just a variety of things, like Steve said. It's everything motorsports, from the local short tracks to the NASCAR, IndyCar scene. Everything you could imagine is there. They even have powerboat racing going on there. There's a great tribute this year to midget car racing. As a matter of fact, our own local midget historian, Stan Lobitz, is going to have 2 of his restored midget cars on display down there this weekend. So we're really looking forward to that. There's a lot of camaraderie that happens down there. We see a lot of old faces, a lot of new faces, and it's just a place to be this time of the year.
And can anyone go down there? Can you get tickets at the door? Is this something you have to pre-register for? Or?
No, it's a per-day deal. You can actually buy tickets for the whole weekend if that's the way you'd like to do it. Sunday, as a matter of fact, it's Family Sunday, where they have a discount deal going on if you bring your kids down with you. So that's not a bad idea to think about that. But Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you pick the day, and there'll be something for you to do when you get there.
So that's coming up. If by chance you miss it, can't make it out this weekend, don't worry. They're bringing the racing world to you. Dino Alberto is, along with his wife and some other people. It's the NEPA Race Car Show. It all kicks off February 9th at the Laurel Mall. Cars arriving on the 8th. And this year, there's a special event going on Friday the 13th. It's a race. Tell me the title again. It's a dinner for basically everybody, but you have a title for it.
It's the Racers Night Out. It's actually something Steve and I used to do years ago between Mahoning Valley and Evergreen at the time, back in the day, the 1990s, when we were racing there together. And it's just a matter of bringing everybody out and having a good time.
Last thing I want to hit on for this segment, and Steve, is NASCAR is so visible, obviously, up at the Pocono Raceway, and they do a great job with that. The ARCA races get a lot of coverage. But you mentioned the hill climbs here in the Hazleton area. There's a lot of other racing culture in this area that gets showcased at this event.
Weatherly Hill Climb is something that we're all proud of. The Weatherly Hill Climb is something that's known just about internationally. As Dino mentioned, I think the fast time of the day was a driver from Spain last year. But the Weatherly Hill Climb is just, it's one of the wildest things. It's funny how anything around Pocono under a minute and anything up that hill under a minute is just crazy fast, and I've been able to get under a minute both those places. And when you look at that 1 mile, up the hill there in Weatherly, and you look at that 2.5 mile super speedway, it's kind of, it's interesting how that time kind of overlays. But the Weatherly Hill Climb is really something. Hopefully there'll be some Weatherly Hill Climb cars there in the Laurel Mall show.
All right, that is coming up. Keep your eye out for the NEPA Race Car Show. And here's some big-time racing news from Thursday. 2015 will be Jeff Gordon's final full season in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Gordon may still compete in certain events after the 2015 season. NASCAR Chairman Brian France had this to say about Gordon. Jeff Gordon transcends NASCAR and will be celebrated as one of the greatest drivers to ever race. His prolonged excellence and unmatched class continue to earn him the admiration of fans across the globe, unquote. Locally on the FYI Standard Speaker scoreboard, snow wiped out most of our local schedule on Wednesday night, but the Standard Speaker does have one game recap from Tamaulipa's loss in girls basketball to Central Columbia in a non-league game. Thursday is $1 burger night at Bottlenecks. Get a juicy 4th pound burger for only $1 all night long.
Good evening, everyone, and here's tonight's Talk of the Town report. 2 announcements for this evening. First, Coal Cracker, a Mahanoy City-based youth-led newspaper, will be hosting a free journalism skills workshop Saturday, January 24th from 12:30 to 3 p.m. at the Mahanoy City Public Library. The workshop is open to young people of any school district in grades 5 through 12. For more information, just call 570-647-6407. And finally, break away from this winter's cabin fever with a landscape exhibit at the Hazelton Art League. The exhibit opens this Friday with a free reception from 6 to 8 p.m. The 5 artists will be present and light refreshments will be served. For info, just call 570-817-1075. That's tonight's Talk of the Town. News 13 would like to send sincere condolences to the family and friends of these recently departed. Dorothy M. Bator, formerly of West Hazelton. Services were held today under the direction of the Hazel Chapel of the Cropton Hughes Funeral Home. Rosemary H. Walters of Harwood. Funeral is Saturday at 9:30 a.m. from the Frank J. Bonin Funeral Home. Friends may call Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. Shirley Belzo, formerly of Shenandoah. Funeral is Saturday at 10 a.m. from the Alderson Ford Funeral Home in Connecticut. Friends may call Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. Dr. Charles Wagner of Hazelton. Funeral is Saturday at 11 a.m. from the Butler Chapel of the Cropton Hughes Funeral Home. Friends may call Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. Daniel W. Schaefer of Hazelton. Arrangements will be announced by the Rosenstock Funeral Home. George B. Hauser, formerly of McAdoo. Funeral services are private and under the direction of the McHugh Wilczek Funeral Home. Stella J. Berezik of Dudley, Massachusetts. Funeral is January 31st from the Scanlon Funeral Home. Walter H. Yoakum, formerly of Hazelton. Arrangements will be announced by the Frank J. Bonin Funeral Home. Leonard Kaczynski, formerly of Hazelton. Arrangements will be announced by the Frank J. Bonin Funeral Home. And Nellie Stratz, formerly of Cunningham. Arrangements will be announced by the Butler Chapel of the Cropton Hughes Funeral Home.
Thanks for watching FYI on this Thursday. If you missed anything, there are rebroadcasts, or you could go online, SSPTV.com. We archive our newscasts right there on that website. That's it for tonight. Take it easy, everyone.